Well, up next, we have Truth or Fake, and I'm joined in the studio by Catalina Marchand de Abreu. We're, of course, going to be staying with that top story, of course, South Korea's president who has imposed martial law. He's now lifted it. We are, of course, going to continue bringing you developments, and it comes after the parliament voted to block that move from the South Korean president. And then we had the military saying that it would stay in place. So Catalina will be staying on that top story for us. And you have been seeing images going around on social media about that martial law decree. Tell us more, Catalina.
That's right, Inka. South Korea's president, as you well said, declared martial law in the country on Tuesday, the first declaration of martial law in the country in over 40 years. Following these announcements, we saw these images circulating on X as people describe the local situation. They say, Justin, South Korean president declares a martial law. South Korea's security forces enter the building of National Assembly in Seoul. Tanks, they say, have taken the street. Here, seen 800,000 times already. While here, there's a similar claim with over 400,000 views where users are sharing this same photo that is going around. You'll see it going around on social media whenever there's talk of South Korea, where they say convoys of tanks and helicopters are seen around the capital, Seoul. Finally, we saw a third claim going around, this image of people allegedly protesting, seen over 1.2 million times on X. As this user claims, people in South Korea have taken to the streets to protest against the declaration of martial law. And likewise, another photo of these, what users claim to be a huge and massive crowds in South Korea protests against martial law.
And Catalina, what do these images really show us?
Well, Yinka, we'll get to all of the images, but all of them are actually out of context and did not occur during South Korea's recent installment of martial law this Tuesday. So let's take a look at this first viral picture that we saw circulating on social media of these tanks going around in Seoul, allegedly. We found the original video was actually posted on YouTube. Here we have it, posted by the Korean Forces Network, actually 10 months ago on January 25th, 2024, where they specify in the title that this image is part of a larger video that shows what is an urban armored vehicle mobility training with these type of tanks that in the description they say are called the K-808 wheeled armored vehicle Baiko, that they say is to show the Army's determination to firmly defend the streets of Seoul. Finally, when it comes to these images of massive protests in Seoul against martial law, we actually find that both of these images are actually not protests that took place today. One actually took, the first one, on November 23rd, and this other one was from November 30th. Both images that actually show, according to the news reports we found, they show massive demonstrations to demand the resignation of the South Korean president amid what is a series of controversies, including an influence peddling scandal involving him and his wife, bribery, also stock manipulation and interference of nominations, amongst others, protests that clearly demonstrate a South Korean president in a crisis long before the surprise declaration of martial law in the country. Okay.
And Catalina, what verified images have you seen going around that you can show our viewers?
Well, Yinka, we took a look, even though the images that we just showed of protests were not recent. Right now, there are protests underway in South Korea. Protesters are currently taking place outside South Korea's National Assembly, protesting the country's president's declaration of an emergency martial law. Protesters are also demanding the arrest of the president, as you can hear them shouting in the video in front of South Korea's National Assembly, demanding his arrest. Large crowds continue to be formed in Seoul, with people demanded that this martial law be lifted immediately, as there are reports and images of soldiers clashing with these protesters as they try to enter also the National Assembly building. There are also these extraordinary images that we saw where tables, you could see tables and chairs and leather benches were used used as a barricade by soldiers to block the entrance of the National Assembly. As users say online, soldiers were also using their bare bodies as a barricade to the National Assembly. And here we also have these images posted by OSINT on X showing South Korean soldiers, they say, and police seen leaving the National Assembly building in Seoul after the parliament voted to end martial law. However, this doesn't mean that the trouble is over yet, as the military has declared that martial law will be maintained until it is lifted by the president himself.
Catalina Marchand-Deabreu, thank you so much for giving us that piece of insight and debunking those claims there. We really appreciate that. We're going to turn to other stories.